Hello, welcome to my YouTube. Let's go to our today's story. The valley was once a place of peace, a humble village nestled at the foot of distant mountains, surrounded by dense forests that whispered with the wind. But peace had long since been shattered. The plague had come like a thief in the night, and in a matter of days, it consumed the village. No one was safe. The disease ravaged body and mind, stealing breath from the living and casting them into the realm of the dead before they could even comprehend their fate. The air itself had grown heavy, thick with the scent of decay. Kelton, Elise, and Joran were among the last of the survivors, huddled together in a half-ruined home, watching their world crumble around them. The once lively streets were silent, empty, but for the skeletal remains of those who had fallen prey to the sickness. The wind howled through the windows, bringing with it the taste of cold, damp earth and the sound of a distant storm. For days, they had sat, waiting for something, anything, that might offer them hope. But it never came. Hope had died along with their loved ones. Despair set in like an uninvited guest. And still, there was no answer to their suffering, until one night, a shadow fell upon their door. It was an old woman, bent with age, her eyes hollow, as if she had seen things no mortal should. She spoke little, but brought with her a tale, a legend passed down through the generations. There was a fortress, hidden deep within the mountains, far beyond the village, and in that fortress, there was a cure. It was said that those who ventured there would find salvation, or they would meet their end. No one had returned to confirm the story, and many had tried, only to disappear without a trace. The 3 survivors had no choice. They were dying, each day becoming weaker, and the sickness would not release them. But something within them, an instinct born from survival, pushed them forward. They left their broken homes behind, knowing that they had no other option. The world outside their doors was dark and cold, the trees blackened and twisted by the storm that had raged for days. The forest seemed to have taken on a life of its own, its branches like twisted arms reaching out to claim them. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the rain fell heavier. It soaked their clothes, drenching them through to their skin. The wind had become a wailing banshee, howling through the trees and lashing at their faces. Yet they pressed on, each footstep another step into the unknown. They moved silently, save for the occasional cough or muttered word between them. But it was clear they were all thinking the same thing. What was waiting for them in the mountains? Hours passed, or perhaps it was days. Time had become irrelevant as they trudged through the mud, the rain blurring their vision. And then, just when they thought they could go no further, they saw it. Through the mist and rain, there stood a bridge that spanned a deep ravine, stretching across the dark chasm like a living thing. It was ancient, its wooden planks weathered and worn, barely holding together. The ropes that supported it were frayed and rotting, barely able to carry their weight, but it was the only way across, and it was lined with skulls. The bridge had not been touched in centuries, it seemed. The skulls were not placed in any pattern. Some were cracked, some had teeth marks, some were just remnants of bones, weathered by time. It was a chilling sight, one that made their hearts race and their feet hesitate. "We can't cross that," Elise said, her voice trembling. Her eyes darted to the skulls, scattered across the path. This is a graveyard. We don't have a choice," Kelton replied, his voice cold, though his hands shook as he clutched the strap of his pack. "We're not turning back. If there's any chance of saving our village, it's on the other side of this bridge." Joran remained silent, his gaze fixed ahead. He had no words of comfort to offer. They were past the point of comfort. They stepped onto the bridge, the wood groaning under their weight. The sound echoed in the vast emptiness, and each step felt like a violation. The mist thickened, curling around their feet, and the air grew colder, sharper, as if the bridge was alive, watching them. The rain fell harder, the downpour now relentless, soaking them through. The bridge swayed in the wind, and Colton's heart raced. Every creak of the planks beneath their feet felt like a warning. There was something wrong, something ancient and malevolent watching them. Yet they pressed on, driven by the hope that just beyond the horizon, salvation awaited. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they reached the end of the bridge. On the other side, hidden in the mist, stood a fortress. It was a monument of stone, black and foreboding, with jagged spires rising from its center, like the claws of some great beast. The walls were crumbling, covered in moss and lichen, but it was undeniably there, ancient and unyielding. Its gates were ajar, beckoning them forward. Without a word, they entered. Inside, the fortress was a tomb. The air was thick with dust, and the walls seemed to close in on them, suffocating. The stone floors were cracked, the remnants of old banners fluttering weakly in the breeze. The only sound was the distant drip of water, echoing through the vast emptiness. It felt as if the fortress had been abandoned for centuries, though somehow it was still alive with a strange energy, an energy that made their skin crawl. They wandered through the halls, their footsteps echoing like ghosts. The deeper they went, the darker it became, until they reached the heart of the fortress. There, in a grand chamber, stood an altar. It was old, weathered like the rest of the place, but it was unmistakably the center of power. And upon that altar lay a figure, silent, unmoving. It was a man, or what was left of one. His skin was pale, almost gray, and his eyes were wide open, but there was no life behind them. His body was emaciated, his ribs showing beneath his torn robes. Yet his mouth moved, speaking in a voice that was not his own. "You have come," the voice said, a deep guttural sound that seemed to echo from the depths of the earth. "You seek the cure, but the cure comes at a price." "What price?" Colton demanded, stepping forward, his heart pounding in his chest. The figure smiled, though it was not a comforting sight. "To cure the sickness, you must sacrifice that which you hold most dear. Only then can the curse be lifted. Only then can you be saved." Elisa's face went pale, her eyes wide with horror. "What are you asking?" The figure did not answer. Instead, he gestured to the altar. A cold wind swept through the room, carrying with it the scent of decay, and the walls seemed to close in tighter. "I can save you," the figure said, his voice growing weaker. "But you must choose. Will you sacrifice the one you love most to save the rest?" They stood there, frozen, as the weight of the choice settled upon them. The silence stretched on, heavy with the knowledge that once the choice was made, there would be no turning back. Joran was the first to speak. "We've come this far," he said, his voice shaking. "We've lost everything. What's one more sacrifice?" Elise looked at him, her heart breaking. "But Joran, you don't understand. If we make this choice, we become the very thing we feared. We become survivors," Colton said, his voice a whisper, but his resolve was unyielding. "We become the ones who live. We become the ones who carry on the legacy of those who are gone." There was no answer, only the ominous silence of the fortress. They had made their choice. The cost would be their humanity.